and this has to be a special treat for our listeners on KPHX in Phoenix, Arizona. Live from Phoenix, Senator Bernie Sanders is on the air with us. Our Brunch with Bernie hour here on the Thom Hartmann Program. Senator Sanders, welcome.
Great to be with you, Tom.
A lot going on in the world, but it seems like Citizens United is always at the top of it, isn't it?
Well, Tom, you and I have talked about this issue, and I know increasingly all over this country, people are looking in disbelief when they see now these billionaires pouring huge sums of money into Republican candidates or in opposition to progressive candidates. And people are really scratching their heads and really wondering, is this what American democracy has evolved into? Where a tiny handful of people working with folks like the Koch brothers and Karl Rove are now basically sponsoring individual candidates. You know, my state of Vermont, we believe in town meeting. We believe in one person, one vote, discussion, ideas. But clearly, nationally, it is just huge sums of money supporting political candidates. And by the way, let me be clear, this is the tip of the iceberg unless we overturn Citizens United and unless we get some legislation passed in Congress immediately to diminish the impact of Citizens United. And we can do that if we can get the votes. But bottom line is, if you are concerned about the economy, workers' rights, women's rights, education, health care, the environment, whatever it may be, you have got to be concerned about the denigration of American democracy through this absurd 5-4 Supreme Court decision. So we've got a constitutional amendment out there. Some other senators do. Good amendments. We have a petition on my website, sanders.senate.gov. We'd love to see people sign it. We've got over 200,000 signatures on it already. But it is a huge, huge issue which has got to be dealt with. And the second part of, I think, politically what the Republicans are doing is not only moving to a situation where a handful of millionaires and billionaires are backing their candidates. The other half of what they're doing is voter suppression. I authored a letter which has several of the senators on board, Senator Leahy from Vermont, Senator Bill Nelson of Florida, which basically asked for a GAO investigation into the so-called voter fraud situation. Under the guise of fighting voter fraud, Republican legislators and governors all over the country have passed some draconian legislation forcing lower-income people who may not own automobiles to that before they can register to vote, they need to show a government photo ID, and many of them just don't have it. There's an effort to do away with early voting, which helps lower-income people, makes it easier for people to vote, and a slew of other ideas that these people are pushing and have passed, simply to discourage and make it harder for people to vote. And I think I speak for the overwhelming majority of Americans who understand that in a democracy, people will have different points of view. We should respect different points of view. But the idea of going out of your way to make it harder for old people or poor people or college students or minorities to vote, my God, that is certainly not what American democracy is supposed to be about. So you got a two-pronged attack by Republicans. Number one, get big money increasingly involved in the political process through Citizens United, and two, do your best to lower voter turnout by keeping lower-income people from participating. And that's just an issue we have to be very focused on.
Absolutely. And this is one of the things you're talking about there in Phoenix as well.
Absolutely. Now, we talked to a wonderful group here. It's called Arizona Advocacy Network. They have long been involved with some success in pushing public funding of elections, and they are fighting off all kinds of Republican attacks. But they have done a wonderful job, and I was very proud to speak to about 600 people in Phoenix last night. The other issue that we're working very hard on in my office is the attacks on the Postal Service, which will result if the worst-case scenario were to unfold, and I don't think that would happen, but the Postal Service initial plan, and it's evolving now, would have been to, over a period of a few years, reduce the workforce of the Postal Service by 220,000 workers right in the middle of this terrible recession, which makes no sense to me at all. Slow down mail delivery standards, which also makes no sense if you're competing against the Internet and email. We need a new business model for the Postal Service that has got to be more entrepreneurial, has to provide more services, has to make more revenue. But shutting down a significant number of processing plants all over this country that move the mail along is something that I'm very strongly opposed to. We're working with a whole bunch of senators who feel, as I do, that we have got to save the Postal Service, save the jobs, and get more revenue into the Postal Service. And there are approaches that we have that we think make a lot of sense. And I think there will be a comprehensive postal reform bill coming before the Senate probably in a couple of weeks. The other point that I wanted to make is that, when the media covers the Republican candidates, there's a lot of focus on personalities or this or that aspect of what they're saying. But I think we should be very, very clear that if you lump these four guys together, you're looking at a reactionary ideology and set of ideas which just are unprecedented.
These guys make Barry Goldwater look like a moderate.
They make Barry Goldwater look like a moderate. That's exactly correct. I mean, and people should understand what it's about. They're going back to trickle-down economics. I just was reading today that Mitt Romney is going back to George W. Bush's economic advisors for help. Well, after 8 years of Bush's economic trickle-down theory, we lost 600,000 private sector jobs. Worst economic performance for any president in modern history. And those are the moderates.
Right.
Those are the moderates that he's going back to. They're talking about, they talk about getting government off the backs of businesses. That is deregulation. That is Wall Street. We did, against my very strong opposition, deregulate Wall Street. So these fine fellows could do whatever they wanted to do. They turned out to be crooks, engaging in illegal behavior, drove the country into a major recession where we are right now, but they want more deregulation. Free trade. They're not content that unfettered free trade has cost us millions of good-paying jobs. They want even more unfettered free trade so that American workers can continue to see a decline in their standard of living. And then what they say is, well, we're in a deficit right now, which of course was caused by the two unpaid-for wars, tax breaks for the rich, and the recession. And they say, well, we got to cut Social Security, we got to cut Medicare, Medicaid, do away with the EPA. And not to mention in the last few weeks what we have seen, I think with Santorum's rise in the polls, is this, again, incredible attack on women's rights. The issue of abortion is nothing new. But to suggest that 99% of the women in this country who have used birth control at some point in their lives should be harder for them to get birth control is really almost boggles the imagination. And then we're back to a situation where, these guys, despite all of the scientific evidence out there, forget acting to cut greenhouse gas emissions, to deal with global warming. They refuse to acknowledge what almost the entire scientific community appreciates and recognizes, that global warming is real, it is getting worse, and that it is significantly man-made. So this is the agenda. And the media kind of loses focus and, what role is Gingrich going to play, blah, 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 blah. But if you look in a cold, hard way at what these guys stand for, this is the most reactionary set of ideas that this country has seen for a very, very, very long way.
Yeah, it absolutely is. It startlingly is. And I think, frankly, Bernie, Americans are starting to wake up. But hopefully we'll see. We'll see. Senator Bernie Sanders with us. It's our Brunch with Bernie hour here on the Thom Hartmann Program. And Senator Sanders will be taking your calls. Check out his website at sanders.senate.gov. He has a constitutional amendment to roll back Citizens United. You can sign on to it over there. He has a newsletter called the Bernie Buzz that you can get in your email box. And it's also his website is a great news source. Check it out.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
Back with your calls for Senator Sanders in our national town hall meeting with the guy I think of as America's senator, Bernie Sanders, right after this. Welcome back. And Senator Sanders, you're still here?
Right here.
Okay, great. John in Santa Cruz, California, you're on the air. Thanks for watching Free Speech TV. You're on the air with Bernie.
Hi, Tom. How you doing? And Bernie, you're my hero, man. But anyway, Tom, I just real quick wanted to give a shout-out to the sovereigns here in California to vote for on the upcoming vote on GMO labeling. Just real quick, I want to plug that sometime here in June, we're going to force them to
Okay.
at least
John, do you have a question for Bernie?
I do.
Okay.
So what I wanted to, the corporations these days remind me of this whole like, spy versus spy mentality, where on the one side, they're cramming down all kinds of information down my throat about what a great company they are or how great their product is, how it's going to save the world and all that. But if I want to go look into that, what that product is made out of, or, I have concerns around the health and safety of my fellow community members, then all of a sudden everything's real close to the vest. And not only that, they're hiring people to go to Washington with the direct, their whole job is to go there and hide the nefarious activities.
So, John, your question for Bernie?
I think I got it.
Okay, you got it, Bernie. Thank you. Go for it.
And, what John is talking about is the fact that many corporations could well be producing products that are not particularly healthy for us in one way or another, whether it is food, whether it is other products that our kids are exposed to. And what they do is, for those of us who want, I say, a strong EPA, strong Environmental Protection Agency, to make sure that what is produced in this country is healthy, or a strong FDA, that the air we breathe is clean, food we eat is safe, the water we drink is clean. It is absolutely true that these guys have lobbyists all over Washington trying to make sure that we're not able to accomplish those goals. So John has a good point.
Yeah, okay. Let's see here. JP in East Detroit, you're on the air with Senator Sanders. Thanks for watching Free Speech TV.
Hey, thanks, Tom. You got a great show. And this is a great feature of it. Senator, I'm a neocon or a Tea Party member, but I'd like to ask you a question with respect to the collapse in 2007. And then I know what your answer is going to be, and I'd like to follow it up.
We have just 1 minute, JP.
Okay. Do you believe that the free market was in play when the banks were bailed out? Hence, you can't have a free market when you socialize the cost and mistakes in the free market. How can you rationalize that?
Well, you can't. And I voted against that, JP. And also, I don't think, JP, that you have a free market when you have 6 of the largest financial institutions in this country with assets of $9 trillion. That's 2/3 of the GDP of America. They issue half the credit cards, 2/3 of the mortgages, and so forth. So that is, to me, is not a free market. That's why I believe that we've introduced legislation to break these banks up. I think that's just a huge issue. I don't think you can be talking about a free market when the Fed, and we got, as a result of an amendment I introduced, we learned that the Fed provided $16 trillion in low-interest loans to every major financial institution in this country. So, JP, all of that does not sound to me very much like a free market.
We'll be right back with more of Senator Bernie Sanders answering your questions, taking your calls and answering your questions in our National Town Hall meeting, Brunch with Bernie. And check out his website, sanders.senate.gov, for more information. Stick around. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the True People's Media, and it's Brunch with Bernie, our Brunch with Bernie hour. Thom Hartmann here with you, and Senator Bernie Sanders taking your calls. Joe in Loxahatchee, Florida. Do I have that right, Joe?
Yeah, you got it right, Loxahatchee.
You're on the air with Senator Sanders.
Well, why can't the Postal Service just raise the rates on stamps like, say, another nickel? In Scotland in 1986, when I was there, it was 50 cents to mail a letter over there and 75 cents to send it to the United States.
Well, Joe, that's a good point, and that is actually one of the issues that is being considered, one of the solutions that is being considered. The more important issue, Joe, and a lot of people don't know this, is the Postal Service has financial problems, and one of the reasons is, of course, is first-class mail has gone down to be replaced by email. But what most people don't know is that a result of 2006 legislation pushed by George Bush, the Postal Service every single year has to come up with $5.5 billion. That's a huge sums of money for future employee health benefits. There's now $45 billion in that account, which really is all that is needed because it accrues interest. It is a stronger account than any other in America, whether it's federal, state, local, private sector. So one of the serious financial problems facing the post office is this onerous burden, which is an issue that we are trying to deal with. But raising the price of stamps a little bit, not quite as much as you're talking about, is another way to raise some additional revenue.
Len in New York City, you're on the air with Senator Bernie Sanders.
Good afternoon. Before I get to my quick point, I would suggest that everybody who can't stand Rick Santorum vote for him if you live in Michigan, because you can. And keep him up there alongside Romney and let him keep fighting. But the reason I called was I'm sick of hearing in the media, that there's nothing that the president can do to keep gas prices from rising. And there are two specific things that he could do that or push for and get done. The first being increase the margin slowly on all the exchanges for owning gas, so that you can't put down 10% on a contract of a barrel of oil and speculate with such a reward ratio. Increase it to 60, 70%, so you have to pretty much buy the oil, even if you're not going to take delivery. The second thing is, this is the same, I called up and blasted Norquist on C-SPAN the other week when, the headline was that refined gasoline is our number one export. So why can't Obama strongly request in the media that across the board they put on like a 20% reduction in exports, all the companies, to keep that gasoline here?
Well, Len, I think both of your points are well taken. Your first point deals with speculation. Many people don't know this, but oil is sold on the oil futures market. We believe that some 70, 80% of that oil is owned not by people who actually use the oil, the airlines or fuel dealers, but are owned by Wall Street firms whose goal in life is to buy and sell that oil at a profit. And in doing so, they drive up prices. We have worked very hard to demand that the CFTC, the Consumer Products Trading Commission, impose strong regulations. They did something, but nothing near enough. And the other point that Len is making about gas being exported is also a good point and something that we should clearly be dealing with.
John in Santa Rosa Beach, Florida. You're on the air with Senator Sanders.
Yes, good morning. Afternoon. Mr. Sanders, a while back when Congress was voting on the threshold for estate taxes, I want to say 2009, I was curious what your opinion on that threshold was when it went up to $3.5 million. And currently, how do you feel about estate taxes? Are they too high, too low? And I have another point about our economy. I think it's very simple. There's a triangle of people involved in our economy. You have owners, you have labor, and you have the Treasury. And just personally, I think if the process of production is going to change, two of the three ought to have more money. Either owners in the Treasury, owners in labor, or two of the three. I think it's that simple.
Okay. John, thank you.
Let me just say a word about the estate tax, and then we'll talk briefly about the economy. The estate tax was first proposed by Teddy Roosevelt about 100 years ago. And what he believed is, and what he worried about, was having a perpetual, ongoing economic dynasty in America where the rich just gave their money over to the kids. The estate tax impacts, despite what you may hear from my Republican colleagues, which they refer to the estate tax as the so-called death tax, impacts the wealthiest 0.3% of Americans. 99.7% of Americans don't pay a nickel in estate taxes. So to answer John's questions, I believe in a progressive estate tax. I think that it is absolutely appropriate that the wealthiest people contribute their fair share in taxes in general, and I certainly think the estate tax is one way you do it. I voted against the agreement that the president reached with the Republicans in 2010, which in fact made the estate tax even worse, gave more exemptions, and lowered the contributions that the wealthiest people would pay. I mean, you're talking about families, just a handful of families being able to pass on huge sums of money to their kids, and I think it is appropriate that we ask them to start paying their fair share of taxes. In terms of the economy, I think, John, maybe what you're getting at is that you're not going to have a strong economy unless consumers have money in their pockets, unless working people have money in their pockets, which is why some of us believe that we need a very strong jobs program. We need to extend unemployment benefits, because the way you get the economy moving is by putting cash in the hands of people who will spend it.
It is Brunch with Bernie here on the Thom Hartmann Program. Senator Bernie Sanders taking your calls. We'll be back with more of your calls for Senator Sanders right after this. Welcome back. It's our Brunch with Bernie hour here on the Thom Hartmann Program. Just a quick announcement for our listeners on WWRL in New York City. WWRL will be offering free tickets to this next week, but next week is the opening screening of a new movie called Heist, Who Stole the American Dream? You can get information about it over at the website heist-themovie.com. And Robert Cudner, David K. Johnson, Nomi Prinz, Van Jones, and especially Senator Bernie Sanders star in that movie. And it is narrated by yours truly, so just a heads up. Bernie, welcome back.
Good to be with you.
So we'll pick up some phone calls here. John in Colorado Springs, Colorado. You're on the air with Senator Sanders.
Yes, good afternoon, gentlemen. As a follow-up question to how oil prices are being derived, has any government agency been putting any effort into finding out who is behind the black market or the dark market? I think it's known as the NEMEX.
I don't know the answer to that, John. The area that we have been focusing on is the issue of speculation and the absurdity that large Wall Street companies are driving prices up on the oil futures market. So I don't know the answer to your question, but that's where my office has been focusing.
Tony in Cleveland, Ohio. You're on the air with Senator Bernie Sanders.
Yeah, it's an honor to speak to you, Senator Sanders. I have a question. And although the current politics are so incredibly crazy, and it seems like we're being attacked from a zillion sides, it's hard to focus on all of these issues at one time. In the Postal Service, I know that in the Congress there was a couple of House resolutions. One was 2309, apparently, that would give the post office the ability to break contracts, strip unions of rights, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah. There was another one called House Resolution 1351 that would actually protect the Postal Service. Now, I know that's apparently what's going on in the House. I don't know what the status of those bills are, but well, could you inform the public as to what might be going on in the Senate and how we can push this?
Okay. The House has a very bad piece of legislation. I think it's written by people who ultimately want to privatize the post office and push it into bankruptcy and give the Postal Service the authority to break union contracts, et cetera, et cetera. Very bad piece of legislation. My understanding is they don't have the votes to pass it because, among many other things, what the original post office provision would do, their idea would be to shut down 3,700 mostly rural post offices. And whether you're a Democrat or a Republican, you know how important in small towns rural post offices are. They become, in many ways, the center of the town. They're more than just a post office. So you're getting opposition, as I understand it, in the House from both Republicans and senators, Republicans and Democrats in opposition to that bill. In the Senate, you have a bill that was written by Senators Lieberman and Carper, which is a much better bill, but in my view, it does not go nearly as far as it should. I recently authored a letter which now has 27 signatures on it, expressing the need to strengthen that bill. We've been meeting with the Postmaster General, and the issue is here. We can't slow down mail delivery service because that will begin a death spiral for the post office. You can't do that. And when they do that, they're going to be shutting down half the processing plants in this country. Notices just went out the other day. They originally wanted to shut down 3,700 rural post offices. So we believe that by looking at this issue, among other things, of this onerous prepayment of $5.5 billion for future employee health benefits, we can stabilize the post office for the next few years, develop a new business model, giving it a lot more flexibility, moving it to an entrepreneurial enterprise, bring in more revenue, and that's the way we can save it.
Rick in San Luis Obispo, California, listening on AM 1340. Rick, you're on the air with Senator Sanders.
Hi. I'm wondering if you could say what would be necessary to impeach the Supreme Court justices who voted for Citizens United.
Well, I don't think it's going to happen, and I think ultimately the way you deal with these issues is by developing a very, very strong grassroots movement. And you can not only move to overturn Citizens United, which in my view is one of the worst decisions ever made by a Supreme Court in American history, but what we can also do, very importantly, before we get to overturning through a constitutional amendment Citizens United, you can pass very significant legislation to significantly diminish the negative impact of Citizens United. Let me just give you a few examples. And by the way, I hope and expect this legislation to get to the floor very shortly. If I put an ad, any candidate puts an ad on television, they have to say, I approve this ad. And you get your picture up there in the corner. If we demand that the CEOs of the large corporations who are funding these ads, or the billionaires who are funding these ads, have to do it, you know what? They will be not very enthusiastic about having their face in front of millions of people. It's very bad for business. Right now, you have a situation where foreign-owned companies can actually put ads on American television in support or opposition to a given candidate. It's really incredible. We have got to end that as well, and we've got legislation to do that. You can move to legislation that says that if a corporation is going to put money into a political ad, it has to get the support of its stockholders because it's ultimately the stockholders' money. I think if we can move on those pieces of legislation in the near future, we can significantly diminish the impact of these super PACs. Furthermore, of course, long-term, we need a constitutional amendment to pass Citizens United. That's the direction I think we should go.
Amen, brother. Leon in Heathville, Virginia. You're on the air with Senator Bernie Sanders.
Yes, Senator, it's an honor. What can we do to create jobs other than jobs washing dishes for the 1% or gardening for them?
Good question. At the end of the day, Leon, that is the question that is on people's minds. Just a few points here. If you pick up the paper today or you watch the TV, they will tell you that officially unemployment is 8.2%. It is not. In fact, if you count those people who have given up looking for work, those people who are working part-time and they want to work full-time, real unemployment is closer to 15%. If you're a young person, if you're a minority, that number is even higher. So the caller raises the most important domestic issue that we have to deal with. How do we create millions and millions of jobs that we desperately need? And I think, frankly, the answer is not too complicated. Everybody knows in virtually every area of America, our infrastructure is collapsing. Infrastructure means roads, it means bridges, it means water systems, it means rail. We can put millions of people back to work over a period of years, rebuilding our crumbling infrastructure, making sure that the schools our kids go to are in good shape, making sure that every community in America has broadband, good broadband service, good cell phone service. If we move in that direction, it makes our country stronger, more competitive, and it creates significant numbers of jobs. Leon, I would also say there are two other things that we can do immediately. We could transform our energy system away from foreign oil and fossil fuel to energy efficiency. In my state, we're doing well in getting homes and buildings weatherized. We have a long, long way to go. And so does every other state in America. We can save massive amounts of fuel. We can cut back substantially on greenhouse gas emissions. And when you transform your energy system to energy efficiency and to wind, solar, geothermal, biomass, and make sure those components are built here in the United States, you also create a whole lot of jobs. And thirdly, as Tom and I have discussed for many, many years, we think that our current trade policy, NAFTA, permanent normal trade relations with China, et cetera, has been a disaster for American workers. I will tell you a very disturbing trend. The president talks about an uptick in manufacturing jobs in America, which is a good thing, because we've lost about 50,000 factories in the last 10 years and millions of good-paying manufacturing jobs. What the president doesn't tell you is that many of those new jobs being created in manufacturing are paying 20, 30, 40% less than they used to. So I think we've got to revisit completely our trade policy, demand that corporate America invest in manufacturing in the United States of America. So, Leon, those are just a few of the things that we could do to create jobs here.
Dave in Hartwell, Georgia, you're on the air with Senator Sanders.
Yes, thank you, gentlemen, for taking my call, and thank you both for everything that you do. My question is regarding a video that I've seen floating around the Internet talking about the likelihood that the U.S. dollar is in the process of being ousted as the world's reserve currency. My question really for Senator Sanders is this true? If it's true, is there anything we can do about it? And does it have the devastating, will the effects of that be as devastating as this video is claiming it to be? And I'll take the answer.
I think, there has been a lot of speculation about this on the Internet and elsewhere for a long period of time. So my guess is that it is not true. I don't think it's going to happen. I think the euro and Europe are in worse economic shape than the United States is right now. So I think that is not a likelihood.
Okay. And that said, the British pound was the world's reserve currency until World War I, and they're still doing fine with the pound, although I'm not saying that we shouldn't. But I think that I've seen some of these Internet things, and they're pretty hysterical, Bernie. And it's just, there's a lot of conspiracy theory out there. But your answer's spot on. We'll be right back with more of Senator Bernie Sanders. It's our Brunch with Bernie hour here on the Thom Hartmann Program, taking your calls in our national town hall meeting with the guy I think of as America's senator, although having lived in Vermont for a decade, I can tell you, the people of Vermont know that he's their senator. We'll be right back with more of your calls for Bernie Sanders.
You're listening to the Thom Hartmann Program. Visit ThomHartmann.com for audio and video archives.
And check out Bernie's website at sanders.senate.gov. You can sign his constitutional amendment to roll back Citizens United and sign up for his newsletter, The Bernie Buzz. And welcome back. John in Burlington, Vermont, watching us on the sanders.senate.gov website. You're on the air with Senator Bernie Sanders.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Sanders, for your service for the great state of Vermont. And my question is, what can the government do to end the ban on and the travel ban and the sanctions with Cuba?
Well, that's a good question, John. And interestingly enough, we have made, under Obama, some progress in that area. If you have family in Cuba right now, you can visit them, or at least it's a lot easier than it used to be. And I know that the number of people living in the United States who have gone to Cuba has significantly increased in recent years. But I think for a variety of reasons, and by the way, I think a majority of the members in the House and the Senate for different reasons, some for economic reasons. You have conservative members who say, look, we're seeing a lot of European companies doing business in Cuba. We're seeing Canadian companies doing business in Cuba. Why shouldn't American companies be able to do business in Cuba? So I agree with you. I think we should lift the ban, and I think there is a lot of support in the House and the Senate for that. The opposition comes from a small number of people, I think members of Congress, I believe from Florida, who hold very strong anti-Castro views and do not want to see that happen. I think that's kind of the rubbing point there. I think it's a very volatile issue in the state of Florida, and that's where the holdup is.
Gary in Cottonwood, Arizona. Watch this on Free Speech TV. Gary, you're on the air with Senator Sanders.
Oh, Thank you. It's a pleasure and honor, Senator Sanders. My question was, again, with the U.S. Postal Service, which I'm very concerned about. I've been reading about, I think in the 30s, the U.S. Postal Service was able to do banking services.
Yep.
Is that ever a possibility again for people to, just to make deposits and checking, savings or checking or something like that, which would help, I think, the bank, help the Postal Service itself?
Gary, that's an excellent point, and that is exactly one of the ideas that many of us are talking about. It is not a radical idea. It has been done in the United States before with the Postal Service, and it is being done in other countries around the world. I mean, the point that I would make here is if you are a government employee and you have a check, or you are getting a government check for unemployment, or whatever it may be, instead of going to a payday lender and having to pay 10, 15, 20% interest, 20% on that check in order to cash it, why shouldn't you be able to cash it for a nominal fee at a post office? I think it would help individuals. It would save individuals money, not having to go to payday lenders. It would bring revenue into the Postal Service. I think that is one of many kinds of new services that the Postal Service should be looking at. People are very concerned about the privacy of email transactions. The Postal Service can, in fact, establish a strong email presence and guarantee privacy. I think there's money to be made in that area. Postal Service should be able to do a lot more in terms of notarizing mail, making copies of letters or documents, selling fishing licenses or hunting licenses, making government services more available to postal services. So the point, Gary, that some of us are fighting for is expand what the Postal Service can do, have them earn more money, don't lay off 200,000 workers.
Thank you. Thank you, Bernie. We'll be right back with more of your calls for Senator Bernie Sanders here on the Brunch with Bernie Hour on the Thom Hartmann Program. Stick around.
I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them bloom for me and you. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world.
Every Friday in our last segment, we play that song. It was my dad's favorite song. And we say our thank yous. Thanks so much to our show director, Louise Hartman, to our executive producer, Sean Taylor, to our associate producer, Jacob Dean, our video director, Jim Javinsky, our phone screeners, Paul Edney and Julie Luley, our writer-researcher, Sam Sachs, to Alva Goldbook for video production, to our webmasters, Nigel Peacock and Jamie Holly, to our business manager, Ron Hartenbaum, to everyone at the various companies that syndicate this program in commercial radio stations, Dial Global, Pacifica Radio on non-commercial stations across the United States, Europe, and Africa, and on Free Speech TV, carrying us on Dish Network and on DirecTV, and all the cable providers who carry our show, Comcast, Manhattan Neighborhood Network, and all the others around the country, to Don Rojas, Dennis Trunov, all the other great folks at Free Speech TV and RTTV who work on the big picture, to our newsletter editor, Sue Nethercutt, to the folks in our chat room, to Ellen Ratner and Victoria Jones and everyone at the Talk Radio News Service, to Jay Goodman-Tamboli for tech support, to our affiliates, our sponsors, and to you for supporting our program. And a special thanks to Bernie for being with us every Friday. Bernie, sorry for the interruption there, but it's our Friday thank yous. Back to the phone calls here. Sue in Davie, Florida, watching on Free Speech TV. You're on the air with Senator Bernie Sanders.
Okay, I'm thinking that you're saying Sue in Davie, Florida?
I just did. You're on the air, Sue.
Okay, I missed the name part. I just want to let both Tom and Bernie know how much I appreciate them.
Thank you.
Great job, both of you. I mean, Bernie, you're one of the best senators I think the U.S. Senate has. Anyway, I wanted to ask a question again about the post office. That poison pill bill that was enacted in 2006 or passed in 2006,
right. Yep.
Why couldn't another bill be written? Of course, it probably wouldn't be able to be written now since the Republicans own Congress right now, the House. But why couldn't they write another bill to stop that What are they being forced to prepay health care and retirement or something?
So that bill is
no other business has to do that.
Sue, that bill has been written and I wrote it. So we have good legislation and there is support for that legislation. And one of the points we make is just the point that you raised. There is no other entity in the United States of America, governmental or private, that has the kind of burden that the Postal Service has in terms of prepayment of future employee health benefits. And according to the Inspector General of the U.S. Postal Service, who wrote this in a letter to me, he said there is now, I think it's $45 billion in that account. If it accrues interest over the next 21 years, it will be able to pay out all of the benefits that it has to pay off. We don't need to put more money into that account. On top of that, the Postal Service, and everybody agrees with this, has overpaid into various federal retirement programs another, I think, $13 billion. So the Postal Service has a cushion for the next few years. They do not need to lay off hundreds of thousands of workers and cut their workforce. They don't have to end half of the processing plants. They don't have to shut down over 3,000 rural post offices. We are working night and day on this issue. I think we're making some progress, but there will be a bill that will come to the floor of the Senate, I think, in about 2 weeks. It's always hard to predict, 2-3 weeks, and we hope that a lot of what we have put into our legislation will get passed.
Brenda, watching us on Free Speech TV in Lakewood, California. You're on the air with Senator Bernie Sanders.
Hi. It's an honor to speak with both of you, and thank you for taking my call. Despite the fact that the president denied the permit for the Keystone XL pipeline, TransCanada continues to bully landowners using eminent domain to condemn private property when people won't settle with them. I would like to know, I have actually two questions on that. One is, what authority does this foreign company have to continue to insist landowners to settle with them when there's a presidential denial of the permit to build and they're not a common carrier? And the second question would be, when will the government intervene on this? Because they're actually thumbing their nose at us and building this pipeline.
Well, let me start off with the second part, which I know more about. The president has come out strongly against the XL pipeline, and there are two issues there. One, I think, being more important than the other. Number one, obviously, you're going to need an oil pipe to carry the oil from Alberta to Texas, and people are concerned about the dangers of leaks from that pipe. And we already have a leak in Michigan, which has been very, very devastating. This is the dirtiest oil imaginable, and it is hard simply to clean it up if there is a leak. So the people in Nebraska, conservatives, said, hey, we don't want it going through our aquifer in Nebraska. And then the TransCanada said, okay, well, we'll move it in another location. That's one issue. But actually, there is a more important issue, and that is, are we serious about addressing the international global crisis of global warming, or are we not? The evidence is absolutely clear that global warming is already having a devastating impact today on our planet. It will only get worse in the next coming decades. And if we say that we are going to reach out and open up the tar sands oil, which emits 87% more greenhouse gas emissions than normal oil, and that's the oil we're going to become dependent upon, in many ways, you're kind of throwing in the towel in the fight against global warming. And I think that is something we must not do. I think the sensible approach to energy is not going in that direction. It is energy efficiency. It's sustainable energy. If we invest heavily in those areas, we can, in fact, solve the energy crisis and start the process of reversing global warming.
Bernie, thanks so much for being with us this week and all these years. Thank you so much today.
Thank you very much, Tom.
Great having you with us. And you can check out Bernie's website at sanders.senate.gov. You can sign his constitutional amendment and roll back Citizens United and sign up for the Bernie Buzz.